Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Trevor here from Phuket Island, Thailand. Gonna do a quick intro for my buddy Keitsu here in a minute. Sat down and interviewed him, just got his life story. What's up, guys? Really excited to share this interview with you, and yeah, let's do it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Trevor Carlson, and I am the host of the Formula Podcast, where we break down and explore the elements of health, wealth, happiness, and achievement with amazing guests from all over the world. And today, I'm going to talk about dance and business with my friend Keitsu.
Hey, I'm Joel, otherwise known as Keitsu Sorenson. I'm here as the founder of All the Way Up, and I'm a breakdancer who translated his life into business to go all the way up.
This episode is brought to you by LadyBoss. LadyBoss is the first global weight loss and support community for women. Their mission is to help women lose weight while loving themselves. They help women get their confidence back, improve the overall quality of their life, and change the health of the entire family. They do this through providing the best information, products, and services possible in fitness, nutrition, and accountability. LadyBoss. Over 1,309,573 women supported and counting. To sign up for LadyBoss, head to the sponsored products page on theformulapodcast.com. Now, back to the show.
Joel, thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat today. I'm pretty excited. We've been friends for a little while, but I really don't know a whole lot about your backstory, so I'm excited to hear about it today.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on, Trevor.
No problem. I'm a little cleaned up probably since the last time you saw a photo of me. I think I looked a little homeless and disheveled previously. But so I'm curious, you know, I know you as Keitsu, the e-commerce guy, plus, sure, you know, a b-boy. How did that all begin? Where did it start? Like, how did you get into all of this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all actually began with dance, but even before dance, there was a game called Dance Dance Revolution on PS2. Yes.
Yeah.
So this all happened while I was in high school. How did I stumble upon the game? I think it was actually my brother who showed me it. And then we formed a club in high school called the DDR Club. And it just kind of took off from there. We would actually have like these parties hosted at people's houses. We'd have like 2 separate TVs in 2 different rooms, 2 different mats for each console, and then we would just improve our skills at that. But in the background of the game, I always saw, you know, actual legit dancers or people doing breaking, or what people know as like breakdancing. So I was like, why don't I try to learn how to actually dance too? And so this was actually at a time before like YouTube was really even around. So there were things called like Putfile and all these different older services that we'd have to go out on like forums and like download the videos to our computer and then study like the movements and things, because certainly here in Iowa, it's not something, you know, I could learn. So I just had to learn it myself. Got some large pieces of cardboard, put it on my, you know, my bedroom of my, you know, my parents' house, of course, and started learning how to dance basically on my own. But then after that, I mean, it was just a gradual process of improving for dance. I didn't even, you know, have any ambitions to become, you know, an entrepreneur at that time. So you'd have to fast forward basically from high school all the way to, say, 2012, 2013 era. And that's when I first read the book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Farris. He actually did mention something in that book about breakers or breakdancing. So that was something that was kind of relatable. And I was like, wait, I can live this lifestyle and dance all I want. So that's kind of what what inspired me to really get started. And besides the fact that I didn't really enjoy, working for others, and that's really what sparked my fuel just to even get into this whole industry.
Yeah. Do you remember what he said in the book about breakers? Because I know he did tango and
Yeah,
and
so
stuff
he did.
like that.
Yeah, he did tango too, but like he always regarded like breakers as just like top athletes, just because of all the movements that they have to do. I think even outside of the book, he has maybe like a video or two on his blog about it. It's just, I mean, it's not like he went into depth about it. It was just kind of like mentioned that, I mean, he enjoyed like trying to dabble with it.
Right. Yeah. So you read the 4-Hour Workweek after you'd been dancing for a while, and it sounds like maybe you had some jobs that maybe you didn't enjoy that much or didn't work out.
Absolutely.
And then you decided to get into the entrepreneurship or the 4-Hour Workweek lifestyle. Where did you start there? Because I'm assuming you didn't just open up your first Shopify store and do 7 figures your first month and just kind of like, oh yeah, that was a piece of cake. So how'd that all get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So it definitely wasn't a piece of cake, but I did decide to kind of make that leap. I was working for a big company called GoDaddy at that time, and I talked to like a lot of business owners on the phone, just so I kind of had a little bit of an idea what was going on, then just kind of did some separate research outside of work just to get the ball rolling. So my first business, as soon as I made the leap, was actually I just ordered a bunch of bags. Basically, they're like a design of like 2-dimensional bags, very trippy looking. Yeah, but I ordered them in bulk from a place called Alibaba, and then I had all of those bags basically in my, I guess I should say, shared closet at that time, because really, like, my girlfriend at the time, had all this space.
Yeah.
She put her clothes in both her closets, so it was a shared closet. She wasn't pleased that I had inventory in the closet, but
Yeah.
that's how I got started. Is like I basically launched a site called was 2dbackpacks.com at that time. On GoDaddy website builder. Horrible service, don't use it, please. But I didn't know any better at that time.
Yeah.
Maybe a few months later, I made a few sales here and there. Nothing, extravagant. I also listed on Etsy. There was a little bit of traction there just because there was back to school season. And I guess I kind of got a break because they decided to feature that on the top of like the back to school season listing. So yeah, that was awesome. But eventually I decided that GoDaddy was terrible with their website builder, and then I moved over to WordPress plus WooCommerce, which is also another popular platform for e-commerce. And after that, it was just kind of a matter of testing things out, trying different platforms to advertise on. It was mainly organic though, and that's what I relied on for traffic. But yeah, that was like my first venture into, I guess, the business world for myself, and to see what I could do.
Yeah. So you were working at GoDaddy this whole time while you were running these tests on Etsy.
No.
Oh, you quit?
No, I quit.
Okay. So before we move on from that, it seems to be a common theme where, our mutual friend Adrian, I don't think he really had the most luck, or he wasn't that happy working for other people. A lot of other guys I know that are successful in the entrepreneurship world tend to not be very good employees for other people. What do you think it was for you that made you want to get out of that environment or do your own thing, or made you kind of feel maybe unsettled?
I think the real reason was because I didn't like waking up on someone else's time. I like sleeping in till whenever my body decides it needs to wake up, or unless it's something that I personally need to do. But I think that was really the true reason. It was just like, I'm sick of this life.
Yeah, so you're tired of getting out of bed in the morning, and then you read the 4-Hour Workweek and kind of pushed you to, you kind of taking that big bet on buying the bags. Did you have any idea that they were going to sell at all when you picked them up?
No, and that's the thing. I don't think anyone really knows unless they conducted like some preliminary like data tests or advertising, which, I mean, he does talk about in that book. Is he likes to run ads without even a product developed to see if it will sell or people will buy into it. Whether that works nowadays is questionable, but at that time I didn't even really want to spend the budget on that. I just wanted to go based on gut feeling. Risky, yes, but I also knew that the design was very eye-grabbing, so I was like, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. And so from there, you launched your first product. Did you stay in the backpack world, or did you kind of start dabbling in other areas?
I started dabbling in other areas, but I continued that business, and then basically just kind of switched domains to make it a little bit broader. But during that time, like while I was running that, I ran a bunch of other projects. So I did like a fashion site, failed miserably. I also did, I'm not sure if you all know what domaining is, but domaining is basically just buying domain names and then reselling them. It's just like buying like digital real estate essentially, and then hoping someone wants to buy it or will see value in it. So I also did that, had some minor success there just because I could capitalize on trends just based off what popular websites are saying or Google Trends. Again, that was okay, nothing groundbreaking. I also did like a whole app portfolio for Android and iOS. I think I did like 10 gaming apps based around the Doge meme. Failed miserably too because I didn't know how to market them at that time. Some affiliate stuff failed miserably. So that just goes to show like you just don't know, but you continue testing, continue the grind, and then I decided to just kind of focus on the bags mainly, and then I started to see some gradual income gains actually just by focusing on one thing.
Nice. So what do you think was your biggest lesson that you learned as you're going through all of these setbacks or failures or whatever you want to call them?
Biggest lesson is just you really have to stick to your guns and what is working. I mean, if something is working, you should milk it. You really should, because you just don't know if these other things are going to work or that they're going to be worth your time. Sure, testing things out is good to know, certainly, but I feel like as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we get so distracted with so many other side projects that it becomes a detrimental thing.
Yeah, you kind of get involved in too many things and you get stretched thin, and then you're kind of, then you're putting more time into stuff that isn't bringing in any revenue.
Yep.
So what keeps you going though because I'm assuming, I mean, we talked briefly earlier about some of the issues on Facebook and stuff like that, and it sounds like it's a continual thing where you face these challenges or things come up and then you keep going, where, I mean, I think a lot of other people, maybe they run one test and are like, well, I'm not good at this. I'm just gonna go try something else now. But you don't, you just keep forging ahead.
Yeah, of course. So for me, I mean, right now it's because I care so much about like my community, my family. It isn't about me, but I would think back then it definitely was about me. And I think that's just kind of a gradual journey, because as a person, like when you're starting to get into that world, it actually needs to be selfish. It needs to be about making that money so that eventually you can become a better person, you can give back to the world, etc. But now it's definitely focused on just community and family. I could care less about myself.
Yeah.
Or this dog. So,
yeah.
Make sure he's happy and everyone else around me is happy.
That's cool.
That's what drives me forward, just to keep grinding out no matter what. I mean, some days they're long. I mean, the 4-hour work week, yes, it's possible, certainly, but I think we all come to a point where we're just like, we need to work more, or certain days we need to work more, and that's when we're really tested.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely worth it in the end.
Yeah, it's the days where you're like, well, I maybe haven't worked as much as I need to, and I have, if I'm gonna hit this goal, or I want to continue my lifestyle. I need to sit here. I experienced it when I was traveling. It'd be like, man, I went and spent all day yesterday at museums or hiking or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I actually have to say no to everything today so I can sit down. Because you think about the alternative and you're like, if I don't, then, you know, then maybe you're back at GoDaddy or wherever. So at this point in time, you're still dancing as well, right?
Absolutely.
So you're dancing, you're testing things in e-commerce, and you know, I feel like there's probably a lot of lessons that you learned throughout dancing. B-boy, that's the correct term, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a complete foreign world to me. So, so dancing as a b-boy, what did you learn dancing, and then like what are the biggest lessons you learned there, and then how did that really apply to like your business and testing things online?
Certainly. So with learning, particularly like breaking or b-boying, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of testing. That's just applies to learning new moves. I'm just gonna throw out one just for example's sake. One is called the windmill, a very popular power move that a lot of people want to learn. Some people even want to learn it for their weddings or their homecoming dance, whatever it may be. But the reality is, like, to actually learn that move, you're probably gonna fail upwards of 500 plus times, maybe 1,000, just depends on the person. But you have to get used to that failure in order to be even remotely successful in this dance. It's very physical. There's a lot of physics to it. It's actually a science of the movement too. But we all understand that we just need to. It's simply all repetition. I mean, any athlete out there that you study, they're doing the same thing over and over again. That's what makes them great. But the thing is, like, once we do accomplish, like, let's say the first windmill, we feel really good. It's a huge, gigantic win for that individual. But the thing is, even after that, then you got to think about, now I got to keep the windmill going. So that's even harder sometimes than your first one. You got to keep it going. That's how I translate to my business, is like, yes, we got to go through all these failures and tests to have our first breakthrough. And then after that breakthrough, then we got to keep the business going up and up and up. So just more repetition. So that's how I use dance on a daily, just apply to not just business, but daily life too.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean that seems to make sense, because I imagine as a b-boy or breakdancer, you probably, I imagine you fall down a few times or crash, as I think you guys like to call it. And it's not, if you crash and you don't get back up, you're pretty much done, So it seems to apply pretty well to the business world as well, especially in e-commerce when you're always testing new products and stuff like that.
Yep.
So as you're building all this stuff out, I'm trying to think of where are we at in the timeline of this. So you've started to have some successes. You went through all of your previous app failures and things like that. You're still dancing. What happened between then and now with the studio that we're sitting in being open?
Yeah, so it all feels like a whirlwind. Just kind of like being in a windmill, you just don't know what's going on. It just kind of happens. Like, even when I'm in it, I don't really think about what I'm doing. It's a strange feeling. You're just like, the world is spinning around me, and that's how it feels in business right now too. Because after that, that bag venture, which I sold actually for a bunch of upfront capital, was nice. It just kind of let me experience the world and see what's out there, and then gave me time to think about what was next. So during that time when I was thinking about what was next, I was like, let's try another business. And this time I actually thought about buying a business. So I actually bought one business. It was called Sriracha Box. It was a subscription box filled with different sriracha products out there. There's a ton of them. There's definitely a cult following. Did I have success with it? Kind of not. I eventually put it on the back burner just because it wasn't making enough. Then turned it just kind of more into an affiliate business. So then at that point I was just like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do because I can't just sit here and play video games and Mass Effect all day. It was taking my life, so I was like, no, I gotta do something. So then I don't know how I even came across this, but it was just like one random like e-commerce webinar. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pay attention and see what happens. Of course, there's a pitch at the end, just like any other webinar, but I felt like there was enough substance in it where I could just basically run with it for what was given to me, as well as conjunction with it was basically an article in the Huffington Post about someone doing 12K in their first month with just affiliate marketing only for their e-commerce stores. So they were running an affiliate program, not as an affiliate, but they would get people to become their affiliate.
Yeah.
And that's when it just kind of sparked for me. I was like, okay, if this person can do it, I can probably do it too. Then I was like, I'm gonna try to at least match that, and then if I do better, then great. And that's exactly what happened. So that was all, that all happened in June 2016, where I was just like, I'm gonna create a what they call a general store, and that's a store that can sell a bunch of various type of items, just kind of like trendy items. Back then I was selling a lot of, I don't know if you guys know what they were, just kind of like these big inflatable sofas that you could just put air into them. So I was one of those sellers that just sold those like crazy. And I got a bunch of basically affiliates signed up to my particular store, and they were all driving that traffic that month. And then that was like, okay, cool. I ended up with, it was almost 60K in sales that month.
In the first month?
Yeah, in the first month.
Nice.
It was like 58 to be exact. But
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, my pixel is installed, which is basically a piece of code that tells like Facebook what your visitors are doing, what type of visitors they are, basically their demographics. It's a scary like NSA like thing, but it's gold mine for marketers.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that was picking up on all my traffic that month. I was like, cool. Now I'm just gonna try jumping over to Facebook ads in July 2016. I was like, let's just do it. And this is what I learned on the webinar, was just do targeting broad, which means I just literally target the United States or other countries individually, but no targeting settings, because I believed that, since Facebook was picking up on all of that data from the previous month, that they would know the ideal customer. And apparently that worked. So in July 2016, I scaled up to 240K. So that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
But it was a combination of, again, affiliate marketing and Facebook ads at the same time. And then, let's say, fast forward to October 2016, that's when I sold my first million in sales, which was...
In a month.
Yeah, it was
Nice.
crazy. So I was like, yeah. And then I was like, how can I scale this more? And there's just continued down that path. Let's say fast forward to quarter 4 of 2017. Again, a good time to sell is just like October, November. I always see huge competition in December, so I don't really like to sell during that time. But again, like I was still selling courses during that time, still running multiple dropship stores at that time, but didn't really have much of like my own branding at that time. So that's something I was like, I need to work forward towards too, because I would see that, trending products, just like they are trending products, they don't always last forever. Sometimes you can revisit them and blast them to the ceiling too, but usually they die down, and then it's not stable. I like to think of things for more stability rather than just like one-time products, because that can be kind of nerve-wracking because you can see things die quickly. But it all kind of came crashing down for a little bit in December, because like my Facebook account just went, like all my businesses like just pretty much died. My personal account, that was actually more sad, because it was my personal account. There's just so many memories collected in that account.
Yeah.
Since since high school, right?
Yeah.
And then it was just all gone in a snap. So that's kind of terrifying, especially for a business owner that relies on so much of Facebook traffic. So, but again, it was during December, so I was like, I guess I can sit out anyways. But yeah, it was just terrible.
That sucks.
Then fast forward to today here in late 2018. That's pretty much a whole year from then. Is I decided to diversify my businesses, run actual brands, and then it was to create this place that we're in right now, which is called All the Way Up Studio. It was created because I wanted to just kind of give back to the community, and also just because like my girlfriend at the time, but now she's freelance, I actually proposed to her here too. She wanted to settle down here in Iowa just because all of her family's here. And I was like, okay, fine. I need to do something here. I need to create a community or something that I can relate to and build for others. And that's why I created this place.
Yeah. So you decided to build the breakdancing b-boy community here, because I had never heard of anybody doing it in Iowa. So it's kind of like one of those things. If you want to do it and enjoy it, you almost have to just build it yourself. Almost, what's the word I'm looking for? You kind of create the environment that you want to live in.
Exactly.
Yeah. How's that going so far? Because this is a bit different than any other type of business you've ran, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is completely different. I mean, this is a physical location, which is something that I've never worked with until this year. But I created it, yes, out of need for the community, because we've had like a community growing here for a while. Specifically at like the University of Iowa, it's called like UI Breakers. But a lot of us, get, older or graduate, of course. And then to be able to access, their facilities, you're gonna pay at least $10 just to go in there for a day if you're not a student or faculty. Then that's not including parking, so that's, another $2 to $5, right? Just to dance. So that it just didn't make sense for the community. And even though we've been through like different studios over the period of time where we've been all dancing together, we always found that the owners just didn't like that we would scuff up the floors or make too much noise. I mean, we were always respectful.
Yeah.
It's just they didn't see us, I guess, like as a priority or anything like that. So they'd always shoo us out the door eventually. Yeah. And that's why, I really wanted to create this environment just so people could feel like they could be themselves, they can dance however they like. It's not just for b-boys or breakers, it's also for people who want to do like hip hop choreography and things like that. But we wanted to give them that environment where it actually felt like hip hop could thrive, rather than in just like your this is definitely not like a traditional studio environment, where it's typically just like in a strip mall. There's like one set of mirrors and you're in a rectangular room and that's it. That's typically your typical dance studio environment, at least here in Iowa. But what I wanted to kind of replicate or give people the feel is just like a large open, like warehouse type setting, something you would see like on the West Coast or East Coast, that's conducive for the movement community. And that's something else that I'm looking to actually do is later down the road, it might be 1 year or 2 years, just depending on the growth, is actually opening it up to more different types of movement. So that includes like not necessarily gymnastics, because that's very strict, but we're thinking like parkour, free running, as well as tricking. So the people who do all those crazy flips.
Yeah.
And then what I really like to do too is rock climbing, because you see there's a lot of cool people here in Iowa, but they all want to move. I was one of them too, because there's the communities or the movement communities that they want in these other cities. But if I can give it to them here, then I think we have a chance to really build something.
Yeah. No, I enjoy rock climbing and a lot of those things as well, but it's so difficult it takes so much effort to, find people to go do it with, find a place to do it with, or not do it with, but a place to do it.
Right.
And it's almost becomes not worth the effort when you're like, well, that took me an excessive amount of time and money to organize this thing, and it's easier just to find a different hobby or to move somewhere.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think that's cool though that you're working towards not only, giving people hip hop and breakdancing, but giving them, basically like what they would get in Denver or the East or West Coast right here in Iowa.
Yeah, everyone's relationship with movement's different. Like, not everyone's going to be able to dance, certainly. Not everyone has like a sense of rhythm, and I understand that. But the thing that's really important to me and I think even humanity is get people to move, no matter what the relationship for movement might be. Let's make it fun for them, because right now we have I would almost call it an epidemic, actually. It's just because all these children right now are just literally like this all day, maybe even crunch even further, and that's all they're doing all day. Likewise, like when we were growing up, we were probably at least like playing outside. Sure, we had Super Nintendo 64, but like we were still roaming around. We didn't have phones to look at. We were at least looking up in some capacity. But that's what I really want for the community, is just get out there, move, get away from your screens.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. I mean, when I was a kid, I was always playing computer games, but then and reading a lot. But then when I was outside, I always seemed to enjoy it a ton. And even now, I feel like I enjoy being outside more as an adult than I did as a kid.
Exactly.
Because there's just so many. The time that you get to spend out there now seems much more rare. I would agree that it is kind of an epidemic, and it's not only with kids, but it's with adults too.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
just people aren't moving. It's like we were discussing, like how you have to take care of your body and mind to really take care of like your business and be able to dance and stuff like that. And for me, it was kind of shocking off the plane from my time over in Europe and walking back here, and I was just like, man, everyone looks kind of sick. Like they look like they're not moving. And I never noticed it until I left for a while. But I think that's really cool that you're also taking that into consideration and trying to be like, hey, get some endorphins moving or rolling or whatever the right term is, and just like, take care of yourself and have a good time doing it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that too. Every time like I'm out of the country and like, it's just completely different environment than here, and I feel like if you get the chance to travel, please do. But when you come back here, I mean, this doesn't apply to every city in the U.S., but especially out here in the Boons, Iowa. I mean, like we commute everywhere with our vehicles. We don't walk anywhere, and if we're walking, it's fairly minimal. I mean, like even people that hike around here, I mean, sure, that's some, but like compared to your average daily life in some of these bigger cities outside of the U.S., you're literally walking for those like 10 miles, 12 miles a day, just because you have to, or just because that's just part of life.
Yeah.
But when you come here, it's just like, I'm gonna sit on my couch, watch Netflix. It's cold, I'm not gonna move. Yeah, we just need to get out of that funk and just get out there and move in whatever movement center that you choose.
Yeah, and then they don't have to do breakdancing or hip hop dancing.
Yeah.
There's so many types of dance forms out there and rock climbing, and it's fun because you also. Like another thing is like being around people. That's a big part of community. I'm sure has made a difference for you. You can get pretty lonely sitting behind your laptop working all day.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And then when you have the opportunity to go hang out at night with people who have the same interests, that probably makes a big difference for you.
Absolutely. And even for like a lot of the students that are here now, they're literally those oddballs that I once was in high school.
Yeah.
But we're finding them with our ads and things, and they're coming here and they're like, yeah, I've been wanting this for my whole life. Instead, they've been kind of reserved in their own environment, trying to learn their dances in their parents' house. Like that was my story too. But now that they're aware of this place, they're coming here from a lot of like actually remote towns around here, not necessarily just Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, but all these oddballs who wanted this, they're coming here now, which is great. They have a place to be themselves. They're building confidence and a lot of other things other than just their dance skills.
Right. So for somebody who maybe wants to, get involved in this community or get up and dance and move, like what advice would you have for them to get started?
Sure. So it's always scary to come into a new environment that's out of your comfort zone, especially around here. But what I encourage for those people is just as long as you step forward through the door. I mean, as a business owner, whoever that business owner might be, they're always going to try to be welcoming to you because they want you to be part of that environment. And as soon as you get just past like that first week, you'll fit right in.
Yeah.
There's always like that first week where you feel awkward because you don't know anyone. That's just like transferring like to another school or starting a new job. You feel awkward at first. That's natural. But as soon as you get over that little hump, it'll be good for you.
Yeah, and it's I mean, no matter what you do, it's always going to be uncomfortable at first, especially if it's something you've never done before.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit to some business stuff.
Sure.
Same type of concept. I mean, I'm sure that the more you get out involved in the community, there's people that probably approach you and say like, man, dude, I want to do what you do. How do I do it? Like, where do I get started? What do you tell those people?
If you're speaking locally, it actually doesn't happen here, really.
Really?
Really, it really doesn't. And I think it's just because maybe the mindset of people around here is just like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really cares, and that's fine. I think that's kind of how it should be. Or either that or it's just like, congrats,
Yeah.
good success. But there's definitely a clear like mentality difference between the people who are okay working with like the 9-to-5 life versus the people who want to unplug. But the amount of people who really want to unplug, at least locally, from what I've seen, is pretty rare. And to find somebody that truly has unplugged, those chances they're even more rare. And then chances of you knowing that they've actually unplugged is by walking around the community is near non-existent. So unless I'm like reaching out to like people, it's that conversation typically doesn't happen, or unless somehow they've come into my community or things like that. But even so, it's just such a large gap.
Yeah.
But if we're speaking, let's say online, yes, that happens. People will reach out to me on Messenger, cold message me on Instagram, whatever. That definitely does occur. And for those people, it's usually discover your why, get your mindset right first, and then come back to me if you're definitely serious.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have those pieces in place, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Has anybody ever asked you how to figure out their why or how to get their mindset right?
Kind of not. It's more just like point me in the right direction, in which I'll point them towards like maybe a few books or resources that I have on hand, just for them to digest. But everyone that I've done that with actually has not gotten back to me.
Really?
Yeah.
What books do you typically
I
recommend?
definitely do the 4-Hour Work Week. There's also another book called like Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
It's another good one just to get your mindset right. And the reason why I choose those books is because they're very story oriented. So things that you can relate to, especially like the 4-Hour Work Week, it's basically like a compilation of his stories and then how he applies them into business eventually. And I think that book is the right recipe to get people excited, whether or not the 4-Hour Work Week is really a thing again.
4 hours. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, he did that title because he was split testing different titles, just like he states. but it gets people excited, and that's the thing. You got to get excited. You got to get the mindset right there to basically go forward. Because if you aren't excited, you don't have a why or anything, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to plateau.
Yeah, and when things get tough, I'm sure you know this from experience, that if you have something other than, well, I just want to make more money, if you have a why other than that, it probably helps you to keep going when things kind of start to, you get kicked off Facebook once or twice.
Yeah, if I didn't have a why, I'd probably just like, I'm going to go play video games or something.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
Yeah. So, we've touched on this quite a bit, or maybe we were just talking about this earlier, but the mind-body business thing, and you talked a bit about your morning routine and how you need to make sure that, you wake up when your body tells you you're ready to, you have like a regimen you follow. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
And then maybe touch on why do you hang for 9 minutes a day, which not many other people probably do.
Yeah. So first off, let's talk about sleep. Sleep is super important. That just helps you to be able to focus for the rest of the day. But not only that, there's a substantial benefits from it, of course. I mean, especially even as a male, like that's when your testosterone levels are high, so you get that producing. It's also when you burn the most amount of fat. I don't know anyone who doesn't like that. I mean, that's great, right? So when you have that full nights of sleep, you get those benefits. You feel refreshed when you wake up, and then let's say when we wake up, what do we want to expose ourselves to first in the morning? For me, it's probably not business, because usually when I wake up in the morning and look at business, there's something wrong, okay? I don't want to look at what's wrong in the morning and set, the tone for the rest of the day. But if I go, drink my shake, go to the gym, or whatever I want to do for something physical, that puts me in a much better mindset. So after, pushing heavy weights or whatever I need to do physically, then you just you've kind of reset yourself, and you're ready to tackle on whatever it might be for the rest of the day. And that's usually when I dive into, business, handle what needs to be taken care of, get it done. But during that time, I also make sure to, take breaks. I admit that I'm a little bit bad at, eating throughout the day. Like, I personally forget. And that's when my fiance definitely comes into play, because she makes sure that I eat, yes.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love eating. I love food. I'm definitely a foodie, and that's why I travel a lot, is because I just want to eat. But like when I'm on my average, normal, daily grind, I often forget, and that's a problem. But you should definitely eat, even if it's just a little bit here and there. Graze, please do it. But during that time as well, I also like to hang. So what do I mean by hanging is just I literally like to hang on a pull-up bar or reins for an average of 9 minutes a day. So it's not all at once. So some of that time will be at the gym. Some of that time will be in my office, because I have a pull-up bar there ready just to hang. But what it does for me is it decompresses my spine, kind of resets basically my neural system when I'm hanging upside down. There's a lot of benefits to that, but I won't get into heavy details.
Yeah.
But try it. I mean, your grip is probably going to be okay, not that greatest at first, and you probably won't get up to 9 minutes for a while. But do it. You'll start to feel that your spine is starting to stretch out more. You're going to feel better. Especially for people like entrepreneurs who are on their computers regularly or their phones, it's good to just kind of reset things out, because a lot of times, even if you have the latest stand-up desks and things like that, from standing you're still compressing a lot. From sitting, I mean, a lot of us kind of look down at our computers. That's also a no-no too. But this helps kind of reset things. So that's why I'm, completely wild about just hanging for those 9 minutes a day, is because it feels good, it helps, and I would say along with that too, just in combination, is just get a foam roll or two. For the longest time, I didn't have one. I don't understand why, but yeah, I care about my back a lot because if your back goes out, everything else is done.
Yeah.
I mean, you could cut off an arm, you'll still be fine. If you damage your spine, you're done.
Yeah, that's true, and probably affects a lot because I mean, business, dance is probably over if your back's done. So.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so what else? Anything else that you do on a daily basis to kind of make sure that you are functioning at the highest level?
Yeah, then I like to add in, dance regularly. It might not be every day, but 3 to 5 times a week. It just gets me moving and grooving, sweating. I think sweating's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Some people are scared to sweat. As strange as that sounds, but like you need to get that heart rate up too. Get the endorphins moving. Again, it doesn't have to be dance, but some type of like other movement that isn't necessarily weightlifting is good to do because you need some type of functional movement to just get the body, wake it up, and use other muscles that you're not used to using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from experience, I don't do breakdancing. I do like salsa and swing dance, so social dance.
Yeah.
Whenever I do that, I always just feel, when I wake up in the morning, I can feel a difference if I danced the night before versus when I didn't. And the social dance stuff has, the social aspect plus the physical. Usually you are, sweat's pouring off of you, you're smiling, you're laughing, plus you're dancing with other cool people, and
Totally.
so it makes a huge difference.
And I think that community thing is really important, even as an introvert. Like, I'm personally an introvert too. But having that community or that social aspect, even if you're not talking to them, there's no rules that you have to talk to people during these physical activities. But having them there is also kind of a motivating reason to do better at dance too. Is just perform your best, move your best, and then just enjoy your time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre how big of a difference that it actually makes, and just not only to your body but also mentally. On a happiness level.
Yeah.
If I go dancing 3 or 4 nights a week versus I don't go dancing at all. If I went 3 or 4 nights out dancing, even when some business stuff is burning down around me, I'm probably still gonna be in a pretty good mood because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And whereas things could be going well in business and I haven't done anything physical like dance, and I might be just in a bad mood because I haven't moved at all. Well, I feel like we've covered a ton of stuff, dancing, business, daily routines, Dance Revolution, books. What message would you like to leave the audience with today? Let's say that there's some potential, dancers or entrepreneurs out there listening. What would you tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main thing to tell this type of audience is definitely prioritize your movement as number one. Then secondly, everything that you have from your movement can be translated into business. And from there on out, you'll have a clear understanding what you need to fix, what you need to work on, and how you can translate all your movement basically from that into your business, your daily business, because you'll be able to handle all those failures no matter what the situation is. And that way you always know you can succeed all the way up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for this show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Trevor Carlson, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop by, and whether it's viewing our episodes or listening to our podcasts or reading our blog posts, all of you guys really help keep this show going. So I much appreciate your time and attention, and hopefully we provided a little bit of value for you. Now, if you're interested and you think you might enjoy getting some blog posts, emails, other podcasts, guides, any of that sort of thing sent to your inbox every week, go ahead and head over to theformulapodcast.com and sign up for our email list today. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thanks again, everyone, for stopping by, and I look forward to you tuning in next time.